Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Can you tell how happy I am? So, the purpose of this video, I haven't, we're not going to do a shamanic journey today, but the purpose of the journey, so this is the pre-shamanic journey video. What is the purpose of the journey? So I want you guys to think about this before we start. Is to see what is pulling on your emotional states and all of your chakras. So the only way to stay out of the Wheel of Fortune, because the Wheel of Fortune goes up and down, up and down. That car is very interesting to me. And if you get it in the self position, it'll say something like that, right? Right. Depending on what website you're using or what book you're referring to, the Wheel of Fortune, is that there's always a law of cyclic returns at play. And the only way to stay out of that washing machine of rest and constantly getting swirled around is to stay in the center of the wheel. How do you stay in the center of the wheel? Well, the 0 point, right? The pure meditative state where you're not actively providing or anything. You're just kind of receiving and just kind of monitoring things. Maybe not even receiving. You might be just completely disconnected from everything, right? I used pleasure and pain in the last video talking about the Morgan. And pleasure and pain is an example of one versus the other, right? And you can't have one without the other. If you are addicted to some sort of pleasure, you're always going to fall into, an equal opposite of pain, or else you'll never experience the pleasure. Masochists will mix the both, right? They combine both to potentially kind of fall out of the pain aspect. It has to do with manipulating emotional states, right? If you're addicted to an emotional state, like if you have an emotional attachment to make someone happy, people call it people pleasing, right? If you want to make someone feel comfortable, and there's techniques, and you can see it online and usually it's pretty easy, right? If someone is subjective to that, it's easy to prey on them and make them feel like you might even be genuine, but yeah, you have to use your intuition to know whether or not they're genuine. A lot of times, just people want to make you feel good so that they can have whatever it is that you got, right? Because they don't have it themselves. Yeah. So, how do you use your intuition to say? Let's say, and anybody could use this tactic. Let's say I wanted to coach somebody, right? And say, hey, look, you can do better for yourself, but I can help you stay focused and do all these things. But I wouldn't start with that, right? The first thing you start with is, oh, hey, I looked into your stuff, and I loved what you said, and basically just, prop them up, right? And then be very caring and understanding and ask them lots of questions. Don't ever talk about yourself, right? Yeah. In some ways, in a lot of ways, right? People call it they've fallen out of ego, but I've never seen that. Not on one YouTube channel. People just say you this and you that, to kind of make the listener feel like, oh, look, oh, this is me. I'm gonna win. Somebody's gonna pick me to become a millionaire, right? That's the most common one. There's a lot of ratings out there that you're gonna get picked to become a millionaire, maybe you are. But if you see the channel and there's 6,000 views, are 6,000 people going to get picked to be a millionaire next week? I don't think so. Right? There's just a lot of negative emotional states feeding off of that, trying to make yourself feel good. Kind of sad. And the last thing that I want to do on my YouTube channel is give you some kind of reading that makes you feel like, you've got to be connected with yourself, right? That's the only thing that really matters. And understanding what's pulling you in a negative direction. You can choose heaven or hell in any moment. And the only way to do that is to really disconnect from everything and be able to choose your own emotional state at any time. Right? Staying present. Having faith that everything will be okay. Creating something. What are you creating for yourself? The only one that really is in charge of making you happy is you. And if you're looking at it for other people, then it's pretty tough, right? I mean, this is one of the toughest things, especially with people who are really emotionally untied, to find long-lasting emotional relationships, right? Because most of them in our public eye have been, codependent relationships. I mean, my parents had a codependent. I believe the first one to tell you, my parents had one of the most interesting codependent relationships I think I've ever seen. And I'm sure I would like to hear from you guys in the comments if you had something similar. I think all of us pretty much did, right? For one thing, work life usually sucks. You're usually building something for somebody else, or for example, my dad worked for Hanford and just he was an operator out at the area for 30 years, I think, and it was just, that's not a fun job. You don't do anything. You're working for the federal government and you're so restricted that they do practically nothing, right? There's no creative element out there. There's no working with other people to build something that y'all want to build. And ultimately, that's what eventually the place you get to, and this is kind of why I'm making this video, is that when everything's said and done, when you realize that the last thing when I realized, and this is my personal journey, it might not be yours, the last thing I want to do is manipulate somebody's emotional state to make them feel like they need what I have to offer. Right? That's the last thing I want to do. I mean, people have made millions of dollars doing this, but there is a cost. And you may not see it right away, but emotionally, charged public speaking, where you pay money to go see some guy or girl, whoever it is, just to give, speeches to make you feel good, Emotional, I call it emotional intelligence, but what they're actually doing is just feeding on your negative emotional states. A lot, right? Could be thousands of people. I'm sure you probably can think of maybe who I'm talking about. But literally, just somebody just actively feeding on people's negative emotional states because they don't know how to feel good themselves. And maybe it's a thing, right? Is there anything wrong with paying somebody to make you feel good? Not necessarily, but I mean, eventually you got to figure out how to make yourself feel good, or devoid from all the obvious physical ways to make ourselves feel good, right? Eating, sex, physical sex, what makes you feel good. If you can stay in the 0 point and you don't fall into pleasure or pain in either direction, and just keep that and listen and pick up everything around you and just observe. Be at peace, right? That's the point of the shamanic journey. Even some of the shamans may not even realize what the point is. Because if you can stay in the 0 point, and it doesn't matter what anything external is happening out there, then you can actively change the emotional state of your environment. Now, I say emotions, but it's actually just the field, right? And the structure within the field is moving the structure within the field is actually moving the energy in the field. So your awareness is caught up within the structure and the field, but you can move the field in specific ways. Changing the weather, for instance. Can you change the weather? And you'll become more consciously creating in your own body to actively create the way your own body feels, because you're no longer being pulled in a direction by what you do or don't put in your body, right? If you're actively co-creating with your own body, then one thing, sexual encounters would be a lot better, right? If you can actively control what your body's doing. And then, so knowing yourself leads to being able to manipulate the state of somebody else much easier. Right? If you're looking for pleasure or pain, whatever you're going for, right? If you want both ends of the spectrum at the same time, I don't know. It's up to you guys, right? I mean, it's your body. Yeah. But I mean, doesn't even matter. Now, there's a dark side to this, right? The dark side, if you fall into the dark side of this, so it's a delicate balancing act, right? You fall into the deepest hole when you realize that does any of it matter? If all of it is just an experience, is there one experience that's more profound than another, right? You can seek after profound experiences, and then where is it leading you? Is it more interesting than another experience? Doesn't matter. It's all temporary, right? Every experience is temporary, no matter what it is. Whether you're traveling to the top of a mountain or swimming to the bottom of the ocean, or you're never going to stay there forever. It's temporary. It's all temporary. Every heaven and earth shall fall away, but I am that I am. And as long as you can get to the I am state and be completely detached from whatever it is that's being created, then you can actively help people, but not only by helping yourself, pulling yourself out of any state where you're actively seeking something because you feel a lack in the other area. You won't even realize it, right? Actively seeking some kind of external thing instead of just sitting there and thinking, this is all there ever was anyway. You could do that in a cell block, right? If there's any place that you should feel unsafe. I was talking to my son about this. I was on the way home, and he's got that little dog, and sometimes she hops up on my lap. Hey, squirrel, come here. I'll show you guys. Squirrel, come here. Come here, Bubby. Come on. Yeah, come on. Oh, boy. She's a good girl. Yeah, she's a good girl. So, my son found her out in the field, didn't you? Yeah, she was looking for birds' eggs, huh? She was living off birds' eggs and scared. And he put some food out, and after the first day, she nibbled on the food and realized that he was friendly. And she started coming around. And she became the family pet. And so she became extremely protective of my son because that was her source. And she's never, ever been happy going for a ride in the car. Most dogs love to go for a ride in the car, and I'm pretty sure I understand why, because the reason she was out there is somebody dumped her off, right? If she felt like she had a safe place and then somebody dumped her off, out of her car, and all of a sudden she's unstable. She has nothing, right? She's in survival mode because she was left behind. Somebody let her go and didn't love her, right? And so she doesn't want to go for rides in the car. She's still sitting on my lap. But think about the end of the story, right? She was brought to a place, and she couldn't see it. She couldn't see the larger divine plan. She was brought to a place where everybody loved her and gave her treats and petted her. Huh, puppies? Yeah. She's a good girl. But she didn't know where she was going. Had no idea. So I encourage you guys to think about life that way, right? Don't ever have any preconceived notions about where you're going, or even if it feels like the rug's getting pulled out from under you, that maybe you're being moved into a place that's better for you, right? And you don't even know. And somebody that would be willing to desert you and leave you behind is not for you anyway, right? Maybe the next person that comes along will be a lot better for you. So I encourage you guys to love one another, of course, and lift each other up, and pray for one another, and have faith that everything will be fine. There's a lot of tumultuous energy right now in the group collective, right? Quite a bit. If you really pay attention, I mean, we're in the middle of a tech war, right? I mean, all that stuff happening on the surface is people who are attached to emotional states of what they feel like they need in order to be happy, right? I mean, investors, big CEOs lining up next to Trump. You know, people in power positions get addicted to those power positions, right? It's pretty dark. And if you get, if you're divinely assigned to a position of power, you've got to learn how to administer it in a balanced way, or else it will devour you, for sure. I guess we can get an oracle card. Let's get an oracle card. See what the oracle cards have to say. It's usually some kind of emotional thing, right? Let go. Or unconditional love. Right? The last couple were emotions, and what was the other one? I can't remember. Cosmic connection. You are connected to the cosmos in every way, from head to toe. But if the only way you can really be present, is as long as you're not getting pulled emotionally in some direction, right? Should be able to browse through everybody that you know and love each one of them individually, and then let go and go to the next one. If any one of them makes you feel different in any way, always ask yourself, why does that person make me feel different? Right? Do I have an attachment to the way they make me feel? Can I love them no matter how they are or what they are? Whatever experience they want to go through. Love you guys. Have a beautiful day, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.